Begin by cutting the tape and plastic straps to open the bike box. Pull out the 3 flaps. Once open, remove the accessory box and place it to the side. Cut any tape at the bottom of the box, then remove the 4 white clips located on the lower portion of the box. With the assistance of a friend, remove the top part of the box to reveal the bike. Now, remove the protective packaging from the bike. Use caution when unpackaging the handlebar and cutting the zip ties to remove the front wheel, to ensure that none of the bike components are damaged. With the assistance of a friend, carefully lift the e-bike out of the lower portion of the box and set it to the side. Lower the kickstand to stabilize the bike. To install the handlebar assembly, loosen the stem preload bolt with a 5mm hex wrench and the 2 stem clamp bolts with a 4mm hex wrench. Then, rotate the stem and fork 180 degrees to the forward-facing position. Ensure the cables are properly oriented and not twisted. Use a 4mm hex wrench to loosen and remove the 4 bolts on the stem faceplate. Position the handlebar in front of the stem and reattach the stem faceplate by threading each of the 4 bolts in by hand, but do not yet fully tighten them. Use a 4mm hex wrench to fully tighten the stem faceplate bolts. Note that the top faceplate bolts should be tightened in a manner to have 0 gap between the stem faceplate and the stem body. Complete the installation by tightening the bolts in an X pattern to the torque of 6 Nm. Use a 5mm hex wrench to loosen the stem pivot bolt on the drive side of the bike and tilt the stem upward to assist with the installation of the cable cover. Align the headset dust cover even with the cable cover. Tighten the headset preload bolt until snug using a 5mm hex wrench. Leave the stem clamp bolts loose for now. In the accessory box, remove the cable cover and the countersunk cover bolt. Pull up the wire loom on the rear brake hose and shifter housing. Then, capture the cables coming from the frame within the cable cover and align the cover to the mounting hole. Use the included 2.5mm hex wrench, not part of the multi-tool, to install the cable cover bolt and tighten to 2 Nm. Use a 4mm hex wrench to loosen and remove the headlight pivot bolt from the bracket on the stem faceplate. Connect the display cable, throttle cable, and headlight cable connections by aligning the arrows on the plugs and firmly pressing them together. Position the headlight into the bracket and reinstall the pivot bolt. Snug the bolt in place with a 4mm hex wrench while holding the headlight to the desired position. Use the extra piece of wire loom from the accessory box to secure the front brake cable, display cable, and throttle cable. Tilt the angle of the stem to the desired position and snug the stem pivot bolt in place using a 5mm hex wrench. Torque to 18.5 Nm. Insert a 6mm hex wrench into the end of the through axle and turn counterclockwise to remove the through axle from the fork. Remove the through axle guard. Remove the plastic hub cover from the wheel as well as the pad spacer from the front brake caliper. Do not pull the front brake lever before installing the front wheel. Position the front wheel into the suspension fork and ensure that the front brake rotor is aligned with the brake pads in the brake caliper. Apply a light coat of grease to the through axle as well as the threads. Insert the through axle from the right side of the fork. While keeping weight off of the front wheel, begin to thread the through axle into the fork. If you feel resistance, do not force it to thread. Once threaded, tighten the through axle clockwise using a 6mm hex wrench to secure the front wheel in place. Tighten to 10 to 15 Nm of torque. Use a 4mm hex wrench to remove the single bolt and washer from the center of the fork brace. Use a 3mm hex wrench to loosen and remove the 2 fender stay mounting bolts from the brackets located on the fork lowers. Be careful to retain the nut on the back side of each bolt. Take your front fender and place the single bolt with the washer through the center fender mounting bracket. Align the fender bracket with the mounting hole on the fork brace and use your 4mm hex wrench to thread in and install the bolt. Adjust the fender height, then snug the fork brace bolt down to secure it into place. Align the 2 fender stays into the mounting slots on the brackets mounted on the fork lowers. Thread in each bolt by hand while using your other hand to hold the nut in place on each side. until the bolt is fully threaded in. Carefully snug the bolts into place using a 3mm hex wrench. Install the pedals by taking the right pedal marked with an R, which has a standard clockwise thread, and the left pedal marked with an L, which has a reversed counterclockwise thread, and apply a small amount of grease to both threads. Begin to thread the right side pedal to the right side crank arm by hand. Complete the installation by using either a 6mm hex key or a 15mm open-end wrench to fully tighten the pedal turning clockwise. Now, thread the left side pedal into the left side crank arm by hand. Complete the installation by using either a 6mm hex key or a 15mm open-end wrench to fully tighten the pedal turning counterclockwise. Torque each pedal to 35 Nm. Remove the plastic protective cover on the rear axle. If a piece breaks off, carefully use a pair of needle nose pliers to remove that piece. Install the rubber motor axle protection guards on each side of the axle by firmly pressing them over the rear axle nuts. The left side cover is located in the accessory box. Fender extensions are included in the accessory box. To install them, slide the fender extension onto the tail end of each fender and press firmly until they snap into place. Ensure that the headset preload bolt is tight enough to eliminate any play in the headset bearings, but not too tight that it interferes with the steering. Next, align the stem and handlebar assembly straight with the front wheel. Use a 4mm hex wrench to tighten the stem clamping bolts. Be sure to alternate between the two bolts while tightening. Torque each bolt to 8 to 10 Nm. Position the display and headlight to the desired angle. Carefully snug the two display clamp bolts using a 2mm hex wrench and use a 4mm hex wrench for the headlight pivot bolt. Install the stem bolt grommet. To adjust the seat height, open the quick release clamp to release tension on the seat post. Lightly grease the seat post and reinstall it into the frame. Adjust the seat post height to the rider's preference. Do not position the seat post higher than the minimum insertion line. To secure the seat post, close the quick release clamp firmly. If the clamp is too loose, tighten the adjustment nut to add tension to the seat clamp until resistance is felt while closing the clamp. To charge the battery, plug the charger cable into the charge port on the battery. Be sure to plug the charger into the battery first, then plug the charger into the wall outlet. Once powered, the indicator light on the charger will initially turn green, then change to red once it begins to charge. Once the indicator light turns green again, the battery is fully charged. Note, when removing the plug from the battery, you must press the release lever on the charging tip. Press and hold the power button for 3 seconds to turn on the display. Hold the plus and minus buttons simultaneously for 3 seconds to access the settings menu. To remove the battery, select the battery lock option by pressing the center button. Then press the center button again to eject the battery. The display will power off and then the battery will eject. Press down on the handle while lowering the top end of the battery out of the frame first. Then remove the battery. To install the battery, insert the bottom end of the battery first. Then tilt the top end of the battery into the bike. Press down firmly to secure the battery in place, and an audible click should be heard. To activate your front and rear lights, hold down the plus button for 3 seconds. To turn them off, hold the plus button down once again. Press the left or right arrows to engage either turn signal. To cancel, press the same arrow button again, or simply wait 15 seconds and the signal will self-cancel. To pair your bike and activate the 4G service, power on the bike by holding down the power button, then press and hold the plus and minus buttons simultaneously for 3 seconds to access the settings menu. Scroll down on the menu and select Connect to App. You will see a QR code appear on the display. Open the Aventon app and press Pair. Scan the QR code with your phone and select Pair Now. You can then name your bike and choose a bike to display on your app home screen. Press Save to access the app home screen. If a firmware update is available, a pop-up will appear to prompt the update. Press the Update Now and allow the bike firmware to be updated. You can also check for available updates by pressing the More Settings button, scrolling down, and pressing Update Firmware. Once the firmware is up to date, a pop-up will appear to activate the IoT service. Select Agree and activate the IoT service. You can also activate the IoT service by pressing the More Settings button, scrolling down, and pressing IoT service. For more information on using the Aventon app, check out our how-to videos.
And that's it.